So we can use calculators to help us do multiplying matrices. We can actually do adding and subtracting and scalar multiplication and everything we've been doing so far. We can also do with the calculator. It's just, it takes a little time to type them into matrices, and so sometimes it's just easier to do the individual numbers ourselves. Okay, so let's start by going to Scratchpad. If you don't know where that is, it's the button on the left right below the escape button. It takes you to a blank screen like this, or if you hit it again, it takes you to a graph. And if you want to go back to this blank screen, you can just hit the Scratchpad or calculator button again. All right, the next button we want to click on is the one next to the book. It's under the delete button next to the 9. So if we click on that button, you can see right here we have 1, 2, 3, 4 choices for matrices. We have a 2 by 2. We have a 1 by 2, we have a 2 by 1, and then we have what looks like a 3 by 3. So the interesting thing about the 3 by 3 is you can make it any size you want by typing in the number of rows and columns that you want it to have. Okay, so for this problem we just did, we wanted to look at using a 2 by 2, so I'm going to click on that. That gives me my 2 by 2. I'm going to type in my numbers, 5, -4, that's not a negative. I think I have to use the negative on the calculator. Let me pick it that way. And then negative, so the negative's right here, 3. And then this one is a +5. Okay, and I'm going to multiply that. So multiply. I need another matrix, so I hit that same button next to the book, next to the 9, under the delete, to pick my 2 by 2 matrix again. This time I can type in my other matrix, 4, 2, -5, -3. And then I just hit enter, and it gives me the answer without having to do all the individual multiplying and then adding the numbers together. So let's do example 7 the same way. This time, though, we're going to have to choose the 3 by 3. Not because that's the right size, but because that allows us to change the dimensions. So on example 7, you can see that that's our 2 by 3. So we need to change it to 2 rows by 3 columns. So now we can type in those numbers from our notes, 0, 8, 4, and then 1, -5. That wasn't a negative. I need the negative key, there it is. And the last number was a 7. Okay, that's just our first matrix. Hit the times button again. Now we need a 3 by 3. So I'm going to go back to this button, choose the button for the 3 by 3. Oh, it automatically came up with 3 by 3. Awesome. We can change it if we need to, but we don't need to. So there it is. We're going to type in our numbers, 2, 1, -2, 6, -3, 4, 9, 3, and 0. Okay, double check to make sure you typed all of your numbers in correctly from what's on your paper, or in the case of your assignment today, what's on your Khan Academy assignment. Then I hit enter, and it gives me an answer. So that would be the answer to example number 7, only I used a calculator instead of multiplying that one all by hand, because that one would take a little bit of time. Not too bad. The nice thing about that one is it has a couple of zeros in it. And so the nice thing about the zeros is that when you multiply a 0 times something, it turns it into 0. So if you were actually multiplying the first row by the first column, like you'd have 0 times 2 and 8 times 6 and 4 times 9. So that first one turns into a 0, so you just have to add the other two numbers together. And then same thing happens with this third column. We end up multiplying one of the numbers by 0, which makes it a little easier. So fewer numbers to add together when that happens. Okay, so I just got done learning how to use Desmos for the same purpose. So let me take you back through that process, which I just was doing with one of my classes. So here I already am, and you can see how I have matrix A and matrix B, and I multiplied them together, and I got that same answer for example 6. Or just for fun, I did B times A, showing that multiplication is not commutative. If you if you multiply two matrices together in a different order, you will get a different answer, or it might not even be possible. Okay, let's go ahead and go back to how I got to this. So if I go to Desmos.com, most of you are familiar with using Desmos for graphing. But instead of clicking on Graphing Calculator, I go to the top and choose Math Tools and then choose Matrix Calculator. It looks like it cleared out what I had done previously. I'm just going to go ahead and do matrix multiplication with problem 7 from our notes. So I'm going to say new matrix. You can see how it has 2 rows already, but I need it to have another column. So I can easily adjust the size of the matrix right here. Okay, here I go again. Type in these numbers. We have a 0, an 8, a -4. This one's less picky about typing in that negative than the calculator was on my program here. Okay, so there's matrix A. I'm just going to hit enter. Now I'm going to type in a different matrix for the second matrix, so we'll call it matrix B. Oops, first I have to click on new matrix, and I want it to be a 3 by 3. So I have to change those dimensions to make it fit. So now I'm going to type in those numbers. 2, oh, I didn't mean to do that. 1, -2, 6, -3, 4, 9, 3, and 0. Okay, so there's matrix B. So now if I want to multiply the two matrices together, I just click on A times B, and you've got the answer right there. That is not the same answer I got. Did I type in something wrong? So I'm going to double check all my numbers. Oh, you know what? That is not supposed to be a -4. That's just a 4. It's really easy to make a typo, which ends up changing the whole problem. Okay, let's try this again. A times B. Now look at those numbers. Those are the same numbers I got when I used the TI Nspire calculator. Okay, now just for fun, let's try B times A. Oh, look, I have a caution symbol. Cannot multiply matrices with incompatible dimensions. It's not going to let me do it, right? So there's another example of how multiplying them in a different order gives us a different result. And in this case, we can't even multiply them in the opposite order because the dimensions don't match up properly.